Yeah, man, what it do? What it do? What it do? What it do? So we doing something a little different, man. Slightly different than what I typically do. So I had an idea, and so we're gonna run with it. Thank y'all for tuning in to another great episode of the Jahmad Show. This is literally like impromptu, but I got something fun that I'm going to experiment with, and I want to bring you guys on this journey because this is obviously about education and growth and building. And I do a lot of research on myself, whether it be audiobooks, YouTube videos, interviews, that type of thing, articles, conversations, experience, so on and so forth. And I feel like I've been contemplating on a way I could bring that information to you so you see that my thoughts are not solely my own, that these are factual, in a lot of ways, statistically proven thoughts and things of that. And I just try to take what I've learned and bring it down to a simpler term. But today I'm going to do something a little bit different. And I'm going to introduce you. I've mentioned this guy's name before. By the way, before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Of course, you know that's necessary. That's how to make the channel grow. So one thing I'm doing different, obviously, if you're new here completely, is picking up my consistency so you can see my face a lot more. But I have a great idea of the way I can bring this information to you guys, and we learn together. We open this conversation together. So make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Also, any updates, just want to, you're a social media person, follow me on Instagram. That's always appreciated. But today's topic is the harsh truth. And now this is specifically going to be geared towards women, if you saw the thumbnail. But I think it's going to be educational for men as well. And I think we all going to learn something about reality. And this guy that I'm going to be bringing to you guys today is a well-respected, and he's definitely growing the social media following to an immense number. And I think this guy's going to really be very impactful in our culture. Or I should say, maybe not so much culture. Well, maybe so. More or less in society and about with men and women in this dating space. If you haven't heard of him, his name is Dr. Orion Taraban. I mentioned him before. He has a book called The Value of Others, which is a really, really good book. But he's a psychologist, and he's treated a lot of men and women, and has gained a lot of access to the minds of these people who are having these issues, whether he's been able to help or not. It's very interesting on his views. So today I'm going to bring up one of his videos, and it is literally explaining the end game, if you will, what he described as the end game on what a lot of women might experience or probably will experience in this phase of marriage, dating, age range, and it's pretty interesting. So we're gonna watch this together. I've already watched this video, but like I said, there's so much information to unpack and extrapolate. We'll walk through and we'll stop it as we go. All right, so like I said, we're doing something new, we're doing something different. But we're gonna get right into it. Let me lower this music.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the way it all ends. So this is a long one, but it's an important one. It's also one for the ladies. So guys, forward this on to your sisters and daughters. They need to hear this.
What I just said. I just said that. Obviously, I've seen this video before, but this is going to be interesting, and it's going to be a harsh truth. And he says that in the video. It's going to be a little bit of a pill to swallow. But once again, I just want people to understand all of this information is information I've gathered from other people, and I'm just regurgitating it based off my own experiences and my own thoughts as well. Let's continue.
All right, let's start by taking a high-level look at the state of the sexual marketplace in the present day, shall we? Fewer people are getting married, entering into relationships, or even hooking up than ever before.
A lot of people don't even really understand that. And I say this, and I say when I reference thing, it's like game. This is the game that we're playing. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm glad that you got this guy here with this, the way that he describes things. He's immense vocabulary, and obviously he's a psychologist. He can break this down from a doctorate level to where, yes, he's going to be using big words, but the way he brings it all together, hopefully it'll be easier to digest. I'm going to stop these videos and we'll describe it. Plus, I don't think YouTube got some kind of copyright situation, so I'm trying to make sure I don't leave these clips going for too long. So bear with me. This is all new. By the way, I don't have a chat up. This is new, so we're going to work on that if you're tuning in. And I obviously can't see what you're saying in the chat. No problem.
All three of these things are at historically unprecedented lows, and there are many, many reasons for this. However, one of the primary drivers of this phenomenon, as discussed in a previous episode, is female hypergamy, coupled with the reality that in the West, young women are doing very well.
Now, I don't know if you know what hypergamy is. I can't remember if he described it in this video or not. And he might, but let's stop right there real quick. Basically, it's about dating up. Like where you are, you wanting somebody that's almost out of your league, essentially, because of the benefits that that person could possibly bring into your life. In so many words.
Childless women under 30 are outperforming men in that demographic in almost every quantifiable metric, and most notably in education and earning.
If you've recently been injured,
and of course we're gonna get hit with a YouTube ad, so we're gonna slide right back by him because this is all real time. Let me let this ad get out the way. And then we'll continue. Unfortunately, I gotta. All right, I'm not finna listen to that. All right, so let's get back to the video. All right.
That said, if women retain their tendency to mate and date up, and if young men are underperforming relative to young women, then there will simply be a smaller and smaller pool from which most women would be willing to select a partner. And since women are the gatekeepers of sex and men are the gatekeepers of commitment, and since sex precedes commitment in the West, we see the trickle-down effect mentioned before. Less sex leads to fewer relationships, leads to fewer marriages.
Now, I've said this once again. I've heard this many times from different sources, and I have been able to regurgitate that, but people listen to me like, he don't know what he talk about. This is from a psychological level, and it's deeper than what we want to believe it is. And people think, I keep just talking. No, I'm serious. It's the reason why I've been able to curate the life I have and been able to maneuver much better than I ever have before in this dating space is because I understand this. And a lot of guys don't, which also leads in another direction. But let me quickly say, women out the gate, if you're naturally already gorgeous, you have a leg up in life because that is valuable. The reason why a lot of older women either get self-conscious or try to stay young is because women, whether they're going to admit it or not, understand that they lose value the older they get. From a man's perspective, it's not as valuable as when you were younger. Men don't really value your money like that. They don't really value your success like that. And those things are cool for your personal gain in life. But if we're talking about a successful man, and we'll get there because that trajectory is completely different from men. And he'll explain that as well. But men tend to take longer to build themselves up over a longer period of time. So we reach our peak around 30, where usually on the other end, it's more of a decline for women, even though they may be growing in their career as well. And he's going to break this down. I'm kind of maybe getting ahead of myself, but it's just, I want to make that point because I brought this up before about younger guys are starting down here and typically have the trajectory of life where they do this. And you get to a point where it's like, oh, now I'm established. And that's why you see the memes about the girl that you wanted back in the day didn't want you. Now she done got, 3-4 kids later and she out of shape or whatever. And here you are, the best version of yourself, build yourself up. And now she's like, oh, what's up with you? And they're like, nah. And it makes sense. It's fair on both ends. I just think that we miss that. And it's the harsh reality that if we understood these things later, I think a lot of women probably wouldn't have had as much fun, if you will, or done a lot of things that they did in their younger years, if that's truly what they thought they wanted, knew they wanted, maybe tried to get it while they could. And not saying they should have settled for a younger man, but, maybe you should go after the older man. I don't know. It's just a harsh reality that this is how things are working out. And it's like finding this out now is what makes it a little bit even tougher to swallow. Let's continue. I'm talking a lot.
Now, this would actually be a much easier problem to solve were it not for one little thing. Namely, women, despite all their modern ideas about gender, sex, and power, are still waiting for the offer. As discussed previously, across all cultures and throughout history, the man has been expected to proposition the woman. This proposition can range from, you up, to, can I buy you a drink sometime, to, will you marry me? But it is always the man who makes the offer to the woman.
And we know this to be true. I could take this so many different ways. But I actually had this conversation with my cousin recently. And it's like, I've had women offer, and I'm not saying that I need that, because that's just the way it works, right? But since we're talking about it, that is just what it is, and why it's like that, who set the standard, and why we do things the way we do, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But it's just funny how if you're in a relationship or you dating or whatever, a woman will have money and still expect you to take care of everything. You may be pinned against the wall. If you're that type of dude, I don't recommend it, but you may be pinned against the wall financially, and she still wants you to go deep in your pockets and pull out whatever you can to show her a good time or take her out. Meanwhile, she ain't touched her money. It's stacked. You know what? Recently, I ain't gonna lie. Recently, I was dating this woman. She don't realize this, and maybe she'll realize this is her when she hear this. But I was dating this woman, and we were out, and we were kicking it about 3 weeks or so. Wasn't nothing too crazy, but we were trying to see where things went. And we were at a restaurant, and I was buying drinks. I said, yo, just meet me over here. I'll buy you a few drinks. Which she did. She met me over there, and something happened where she needed to look at her Apple Pay. So she's a short girl. So she opened her phone, unbeknownst to me. I just happened to glance over, and I'm gonna say the amount of money was. This is subjective about what's a lot and what's not. I felt like it was enough. Now I don't know her bills. I don't know what that money was for. I don't know none of that. But what I know is I saw $1,100 in her Apple Pay. Now I don't know how many other accounts she got or what, but I mean, you tell me, $1,100 is enough to buy a $14 drink, or even say, hey, I got this round. But that's neither here or there. I just think it's funny how it's always expected for men to do things. And once again, if you got it, which I do and I had it and I always do, just what it is. But why? I don't know we ever questioned that.
And this is peculiar because there doesn't seem to be like a necessary reason for this. Like if we can collectively question the necessity of pretty much every other traditional gender role, I'm not sure why this one has survived to the present day.
And I'm going to say this. I'm glad he just said that. I think it's because society has just put that type of responsibility, that understanding on men, and it will piss women off if you say, I ain't gonna do that. Now all of a sudden you ain't this and you ain't that, and it's like, not really. It just, like he said, there's no rhyme or reason. We just do it, which is kind of stupid.
And just for the record, I would love to be taken out to dinner. Like if you want to make all the plans and pay for everything, or if you want to invite me over for a home-cooked meal, I would be thrilled to show up and look pretty. Provided, of course, you are sufficiently attractive, you meet all of my criteria, and you don't assume I'm just going to sleep with you, because that would be creepy and my eyes are up here. In any case, and for whatever reason, women don't seem interested in occupying this traditionally male role in the courtship process.
Of course not. Why would it? I come out of pocket. It ain't that appealing on the man's side either. It ain't like, you know what I want to do? Keep my bread in my pocket too. Let's be real. Anyways.
At all ages and at all levels of commitment, they are still waiting for the offer. Now, on the surface, this doesn't seem to cause too many problems for women in their 20s. The offers might be coming in hard and fast, and it may reasonably seem like it's only a matter of time before an even better offer comes in, and they'll accept when they're ready.
Exactly. That just literally says what I said before. It's easier when women are young and sexy and attractive and vibrant and not a lot of baggage, meaning either children or experiences to shape who they're going to be after their 30s or whatever. Yeah.
However, this attitude, while understandable, leads to a number of fairly predictable downstream consequences. This is because the game changes at 30.
All right. I'm just trying to make sure y'all still here with me. I don't know who's tuning in, who's watching this, but I just want to make sure that y'all still getting this game. Like, once again, also just so y'all know, the link to this video is in the description. And once again, I got to give credit for Dr. Orion Taraban. I'm hopefully I'm doing this the right way. Once again, it's my first time doing something like this. So we're going to see what happens in the near future. But I think this is going to be a really good way to introduce my logic and the way that I think and where I get my sources from, to be honest with you, and try to share that, which I always do. But this is you're not just hearing it from me.
As previously discussed, 30 is the age at which the average male's sexual marketplace value exceeds the average woman's sexual marketplace value for the very first time.
Look at that. So we got another ad. We're going to skip past this. We got another ad we got to take care of. And I'm a bear the brunt of the noise. Actually, I'm gonna just mute that. Skip past this ad, and then we'll get right back into it. But listen, excuse me. How interesting is it? And maybe I don't know. Y'all can leave it down in the comments. Like I said, I'll get around to understanding, reading comments and all that. But how interesting is it knowing that at 30, and it's so funny, my dad actually, before I knew any of this, when I turned 30 years old, I was living in Savannah, Georgia. My first career gig, and I had turned 30 was it that year or the following year? Anyways, I had turned 30. He's like, son, everything just gets clearer. Something about a man turns 30. And that was his way of describing it. But I think what got clearer was just maybe the understanding in life, the maturity, the things that I've been through. And also, I started to see the trajectory of my life. And like he said, the value that I possessed, at least from a woman's lens or a woman's perspective, seemed to be a little bit more.
And since men are presumably expected to make the same ultimate offer, namely marriage or a lifetime of commitment, protection, and provision, to a woman in her 20s as to a woman in her 30s or beyond, and since women's sexual marketplace value decreases across the same timeline, all other things being equal, the same offer becomes increasingly expensive as the woman ages.
He's going to go a little bit more in depth to really explain that. But essentially what he's saying is, if I'm a man that has just gotten to my 30s or beyond, and I'm now acquiring the things that are what most people in life would deem valuable: success, financial success, awareness, physical fitness, just manhood itself, and everything that a woman might find attractive. And I have the options with a beautiful 20-year-old or an average 30-year-old with children. I think that we kind of know that I'm going to go with the beautiful 20-year-old. The woman is in her 20s, right? I'm going to go with the woman who, like I just said, has less baggage, has less experiences, which is also baggage, is a little bit more in her prime from an attractive standpoint, quote unquote, the better option. Because guess what? That's what women do. That's what women want to do. But the reality starts to set in. The more you age, the harder it is to obtain a guy like that. Not because you become less of a person, but in the dating market space where that man has options now that he never had when he was in his 20s, with those attractive women and whatever else, you become more of an option. Like you're not as valuable. I know that sounds bad, but this is the whole point of the video. It's the harsh truth. And it is what it is. I'm just explaining the nature of how this works. But so is he. Let's continue.
I'll say that again in a slightly different way. Since the offer is the same, but a woman's sexual marketplace value decreases as she ages, the same offer becomes increasingly expensive as a function of time. What this generally means is that if women don't adapt to changing conditions, they may find themselves priced out of the market, especially since they seem hell-bent against making the offer.
Exactly. That's the other part. And there's another video that maybe we can go into next time. But he describes delusion. And I think this is kind of stemming off of that, but I'm going to just say this real quick. That's the part that I think is hurting women the most. And that's why this is the harsh truth, is because what's sold to you through social media, through movies, is this knight in Prince Charming and all this, the knight in shining armor, whatever. That's a facade. Because in the real world, like I just told you, what human being in their right mind who has everything is going to go with somebody who doesn't have close to what they have. No. If you have access to everything, in what world would a man say, you know what, I worked super hard. I finally achieved the level of success I wanted to achieve. I'm making money. It's working now. I have access to the beautiful women, but you know who I want? Carlo Miller said this. Shout out to him. I want Keisha with 3 kids. I'm going to call her, see what she got going. It don't work that way. Let's continue.
This is why Mick Jagger crooned that time was on his side. Yes, it is. Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this episode to someone who might benefit from its message, because it's word-of-mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. You can also hit the super thanks button. It's
Can't do nothing because I'm playing the video, but we're going to let him talk.
3 little dots in the lower right-hand corner, and tip me in proportion to the value you feel you've derived from.
Or y'all can tip me for bringing this information to you.
This message. All of this is made possible through your support, and I couldn't do this without you, so I'm really appreciative of what you can do. Thank you very much. All right, let's try to put this all together, shall we? Given all the factors that we've discussed thus far, female hypergamy, young women's success relative to young men, changing SMV as a function of time, and the fact that women aren't making offers to men, there are
Just so you know, SMV is sexual market value.
actually only a few different ways this can possibly turn out. In fact, if we play the chess out 20 moves, we see that there are only 5 possible endgames here for women. I can't give the exact odd ratios, but some are much more plausible than others. Let's briefly walk through all 5 scenarios.
Now, here's where it gets good. Get your popcorn. Take some notes. Start to leave some really harsh comments in the comment section. Whatever you need to do. But it's about to get real.
Remember, high-performing, attractive young women set an extremely high barrier to entry. Their success, coupled with their hypergamy, means that there are fewer potential mating and dating options for them. Their price tags, the value required to overcome their entry barriers to a sexual relationship, are very, very high.
Because they're extremely attractive.
And since the majority of women are gunning for the same top 10% of men, the intrasexual competition is astounding.
If you've recently been...
Man, see, look at all these ads. They off the chain with it, ain't they? We're going to keep pushing, though. Let's get past this ad real quick. I don't want to hear nothing about no car accident. Y'all finna get this work. All right. Let's bring it back.
On the other hand, while women are doing very well, the men to whom they are hypergamously attracted are, by definition, doing even better.
Listen, you're not just hearing this from me. You know what I'm saying? I keep trying to say the same thing, but it's so funny to me. What's so funny to me, and I'm glad this happened, because otherwise I don't think I would have been doing the videos the way I'm doing them now for so many different reasons. But what's so interesting to me is when I have conversations with men and women alike, it's like the rule number 1 of having an intelligent conversation is not going off of your own understanding. That means you have done some research and you can point back to that reference point to further validate your point. In this case, this is another reason why I'm bringing this to you. But it's like people don't realize when you're talking to me about relationships and these psychological standings, you sound like an idiot in a lot of cases because you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to point you in the right direction. I'm trying to help you. The information, and I'm doing this so y'all see, just don't take my word for it. Look, I can do this all day, and I am. Y'all gonna be like, okay, he doing it again. I keep trying to tell you. Nonetheless, let's continue.
These 10% of men have incredible optionality, and they may understandably be reticent to forego the buffet for the same meal for the rest of their lives. This creates the ironic paradox that the men who have what women want are the least likely to give it to them.
I just said that is why, man. I'm gonna show y'all. We gonna so many different things popping in my head. We gonna go. This is why, fellas, y'all probably understand it. The men that get women all the time, that's why you can get so many of them. You won't, and you not giving you, but you know the game. The guys that don't get this are the guys who are literally just happy to be in a woman's presence. But this is how the game for real goes, fellas. See, a lot of men, they never experienced that, so they looking at like, that ain't my reality. No, it's not. But this is reality of women. This is the reason why you struggle. This is the reason why you should get on your game. This is the reason why you should hustle. This is the reason why you need to be the best version of yourself. Not just from a monetary standpoint, but knowledge as well. Understanding, being stoic, learning manhood, being a superior man in that way. Self-mastery. Because the difference between me and you, when I go out, I don't garnish for women attention. I just get it. The reason why that is because I exude all those things I just said. They can smell it on me. They feel it on me. But y'all gonna see. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna just start showing y'all so y'all can understand. And that will follow the Instagram for that content. Y'all gonna start to see the reality of how this is for an attractive, high-value man. And it gets even more insane the higher value you go up in life, from a status standpoint to, just when you are a celebrity or athlete or multi-millionaire or billionaire or whatever, and you've achieved a certain level of sex, and you have attraction, and you understand the game. That's why you see people like Dan Bilzerian with 20 women. Or Floyd Mayweather with multiple women and they all there together. Or Chris Brown having women pay $1,000 just to meet him.
Let me say that again. The men who have what women want are the least likely to give it to them. From their perspective, the women's demands are too expensive. And
exactly. Meaning, I'm a 36-year-old man. If I meet a woman based off of attractiveness, I'm like, okay, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I definitely have fun. We can see what's up. And she says, oh, how you doing? I'm good. How old are you? I'm 38. Immediately, all right, you about my age, but you got kids? Nah, I ain't got kids. You got kids? Yeah, I got 2. Being real. Okay. Notch. That don't mean I won't sleep with you. That don't mean I ain't gonna have fun with you. That don't mean you a bad person. Most likely, I'm still want to get to know you because there's something that I can learn from this situation, either based off of my studies or something that this person could bring a value in my life for something. But for me, marriage is completely off the list. You don't fit into that category. You're cool. I'll hang out with you. But I'm not going to do anything I don't want to do because I don't have to do it. I don't got to kiss nobody ass. I ain't got to do none of that. Like, I could just literally continue to do what I'm doing. You an option. Cool. We gonna have fun. But I can get her too. And she got more than what you got. So if you see me with her, if y'all ever see me in a relationship, just know she banging.
And they only become more expensive as a function of time. And this phenomenon will intensify as the trends we've discussed continue. What this means is that given the assumptions I've already mentioned, there are only 5 endgames for women. As you'll see, they logically cover all possible outcomes. Here they are. A, women keep their price tags high, beat out the intrasexual competition, and secure the high value man.
So what this means is, most likely, there is something about you, maybe it's your seduction, it's your beauty, combination of both, your circle, something, charisma, that has been able to attract the 1% of 1% men that most women go after. And if you look at most of those men who can be considered, I want you to notice two things with this. Either one, if they are committed, she's normally beautiful. If they're not committed, they have been with a lot of beautiful women.
B, women lower their price tags in order to beat out the intersexual competition and secure the high value man. C, women keep their price tags high, fail to beat out the intersexual competition, and settle for a lower value man.
That right there, and he's going to dive into that. That is the moral of today's topic. Most women settle. I didn't make up the rules. I'm here with you. I'm just relaying the information. When I've had this conversation, a lot of women try to justify settling. And here's the problem. Men don't want to accept that they have been settled for. So it's this dichotomy of women not wanting to realize that they actually have settled, or they try to justify, even though deep down they know. Chris Rock even made a joke about it, right? I can't remember if he said it or somebody. I think he might have said it actually in a different video, maybe this video, about that's why women are always mad, because you weren't her first option. We can sit here and say, oh, Rakif, that's you. But the reality of it is we live in the same planet as the Chris Browns and the Floyd Mayweathers and the whoever else is Michael B. Jordan, or whoever else is highly sought after in the entertainment business, right? We live in the same world as them. So what you mean? That's actually going on. That's happening. That's why your woman is sitting there telling you all in your ear about another man, about how about how attractive and talented he is. Meanwhile, I don't think I've ever heard a man sit down, either with a man or a woman, and sit there and go off about how much of a fan he is of Beyonce and this, that, and the third, and won't shut up. I'm not saying it don't happen, but that's an outlier. That don't happen that often. They might talk about how attractive she is, but you definitely not talking about how attractive she is to your woman. You definitely not gonna sit there and go crazy about, oh, she this, she that, she this. It just don't happen as much. But women, all day they will tell you how much they love a male artist or a male basketball player. That's the third. But deep down inside, you like, oh, okay. You ain't thinking too deep into it, but really, that's what she really wants. She want a man like that. She don't want you. She's settling for you. Anyways, let's continue.
D, women lower their price tags, still fail to beat out the intersexual competition, and settle for a low-value man. And E, women neither secure nor settle and end up unpartnered. There are literally no other ways for the game to end. So which outcome is most likely?
Unpartnered. Low-value man, an average man, and then possibly a high-value man? We'll see. We'll see what he got to say.
Likely. Feel free to pause the episode and take a guess. Now, since we're talking about behavioral economics and the exchange of value, the easiest way to approach an answer to this question is to consider what you, a woman, would do if you were shopping. To that end, would you ever buy the exact same product from one vendor if you could get it more cheaply and easily somewhere else? Of course not.
Who would in their right mind? But it gets better.
And that's why, though this is going to be hard for some women to appreciate, the most unlikely outcome by far is scenario A.
I switched from due dates to due dates, and it made me go from weeks.
Now, I'm going to remind you, he about to remind you. Let me get past this ad real quick for the sake of the video. Boy, they going in with these ads on YouTube, ain't they? Hey, I need them going in on my YouTube videos. I need that check, YouTube. Let's continue, man.
Keeping your price tag high with men who are awash in optionality ain't going to lead to a sale. That said, do you sometimes pay much more for a product from one vendor, even though you could get a similar product more cheaply and easily elsewhere? You do. Almost every woman I know owns a designer bag, which is a sack to hold things.
Simply put. Well, this analogy is pretty good.
You don't need to spend thousands of dollars on a sack, but you do need to spend thousands of dollars on a Versace sack. Now, Versace can charge thousands of dollars for a sack because they have demonstrated proof that women will pay thousands of dollars.
Stay with us.
They can beat out all the other sacks. They are the 1% of sacks. And a woman needs to be a 1% woman to have a Versace price tag.
Now, let's stop it right there because he says a lot of analogies and this, and even me listening to it for a second time is starting to make a little bit more sense. Basically, what he's saying is, if you want to get a high value man, you need to be a high value woman. It needs to, for a man to say, I gotta have it. I can go get anything. I got the money to do it. I gotta have her. There's something about you that has to be of value to me or to that man, right? Let's continue.
By definition, most women are not 1% women.
Just like most women are not, or most men are not 1% men. And that's why he said by definition. I think sometimes that goes over people's head, but let them talk.
They will lose to the intrasexual competition for the top 10% of men if they keep their price tags high.
So let's stop it because I thought he was going to explain it. But just so people can stay with me, because I know this should sound simple, but let me explain it. By definition, the 1%, meaning there's 99 other percentages that could be tapped into. We talking about the top 1%. We ain't talking about the 99. We talking about that one. That ain't most people. Actually, the very top end. But you have a lot of average women seeking that top 1% of man. And this is where the delusion kicks in. But that's, once again, we're gonna go into it. That'll be another discussion. Maybe that'll be another video we'll talk about. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow. We'll see. Anyways, let's continue.
This is not because these men can't afford the price tag, but because, like you, they are not going to spend more than they need to for the exact same product. So scenario A is the least likely. It only happens about 1% of the time.
So, first little tidbit of harsh reality. Most of you women will never ever get and be with a high value man. You might experience him. He might hit it. But you'll never ever be able to say, that's my man. Most women will never ever be able to say that. Ever.
Next, appreciate the fact that even if every one of these top 10% of men wanted to get married and settle down, and they definitely don't, that would mean, by definition, a maximum of only 10% of women could possibly end up with one of these high-value men. And since 1% of women end up in scenario A...
Let's talk about that real quick. Even with the 1% here and the 10% here, that's still that means that even in the top 10% of women, they still got to compete for that 1%, man. So if you're an average woman, what makes you think that you are going to be able to compete with these women when you just either physically don't have the attributes, the mindset, situation, clout? You're not even in rooms. You can't even get in places where these men exist.
And since roughly 1/3 of the remaining men in this category, by a conservative estimation, will be uninterested in settling down at any one time, this means that about 6% of women can possibly end up in scenario B, making it the second least likely outcome. And of course, the cost of securing this outcome is women lowering their price tags. Women, are you more likely to buy the Versace sack at full retail or when it's on sale? Even if you could afford the full retail, wouldn't you be more motivated to act by the discount? Of course you would, because that's rational. And if Versace wants to reach a clientele that would otherwise be priced out of its regular product, that is exactly what Versace needs to do.
So basically, it's kind of going back to what I just said, and I think I'm saying this correctly. But from my understanding of what he just explained as I get past his ad, is essentially you're going to be, the 10% of those women are still going to be garnishing for that 1% man, which means the 1% man will probably take somebody in that range if she was just everything. Like, hey, bro, she do everything. Any man that's been able to actually attract numerous amount of women and had experiences with beautiful women, y'all know what I mean by when I say she willing to do everything. Cook, clean, sex, what kind of sex, whenever, how, will buy you things. Like things that normally probably wouldn't go on in a space because they understand that they're in this competition and they want to win. Anyway, let me get past this ad. And then we'll continue the video. All right. We back. Let's continue.
We've covered the first two options, and there are still 93% of women left unaccounted for.
Look at his expression. Think about this from a statistical standpoint, and this is where the harsh reality kicks in, is when you start to really look at numbers. I understand it might be discouraging. It may be hard to swallow. It may be, but once you get past that and you understand the reality, I think with this information, what you can do is start to look at life from a realistic lens, more realistic lens, and put yourself in a position to be comfortable, or realize that, hey, I need to adjust the way I think and who I think I am and work on myself to attract the best quality man I possibly can. And that's what this whole video is about. This isn't about bashing women. I don't do that. This isn't about bashing men. This is about reality checking ourselves and putting ourselves in a mindset to where we understand that, okay, the world does not revolve around me. It's included with everybody. And if I understand the game, understand the rules to the game, i.e. the knowledge of how people think, I can better position myself to win in life and really curate really long-lasting, successful, healthy relationships.
Where are they going to go? Well, since we know that 25% of women are unmarried at 40, a figure that's increased
25% of women are unmarried by the age of 40. So that's a little bit too extrapolate. But basically, if a woman hits 40, 25% of them are unmarried, which that means a fourth of women who are at the age of 40 right now are unmarried. And I think he breaks this down. That's 1 out of 4 women over the age of 40. That's a lot.
Whopping 25% in just the last 10 years, and 7% of women end up in the first two categories. That means that about 2/3 of women will face endgames C and D. And since my impression is that women, reproductive window notwithstanding, would genuinely and understandably prefer to remain unpartnered than resign themselves to a less desirable relationship with a lower value man, I don't think there's an equal split here.
So I don't know if he's going to go into how many people choose that option, but that's why you hear this thing, and it's a true thing these days. It's like, I'm done. I'm good on dating. I'd rather just be if I gotta settle, I'm good. And it's like, that's cool. As long as you understand reality, you do what you want to do. It's your life. But just don't live in la la land while you do it.
That said, the desire for children and commitment can be very powerful in women, especially as they age, so there is a split to be made. My hunch is that about 15% of women end up in scenario D. They lower their price tags, still fail to beat out the intersexual competition, and settle for a lower value man.
So, basically, these are your average to not so average women because they can't beat out the intersexual, which is basically the average women, right? You can't compete with them, and you don't want to be alone, so you go after a man that none of the even average women want, and just so you can have somebody. I'm just saying, that's the truth. Like, I got somebody. Yeah. We all know what that kind of look like. We done been around those type of people. You can look at them and say, you just got somebody.
Making it the third least likely outcome. And these women typically end up here out of pressured necessity. Women, would you ever pay $20 for a mediocre sandwich? Probably, if you were at the airport and you didn't plan properly.
I love his analogies.
In this scenario, the prospect of going 12 hours without food is more distasteful than being gouged for a disappointing meal. You will be willing to pay more for less if the prospect of going entirely without is more painful.
And that's going to be subjective, right? That's I don't want to die alone situation. I need somebody, or finances is hard and at least we got a 2-house income. It's going to be easier for me to sustain my life and, whatever. Or we got kids and he was there when my mama passed and, all that junk. That's but usually when you listen to people's lives, like, that don't sound fulfilling at all. That's just, I want somebody. You don't be in that situation either.
Seen from the opposite perspective, this is why producers who create on a regular cadence, everyone from car manufacturers to fashion designers to local bakeries, radically discount their products right before the newer, fresher products are released. This is designed to capture customers who, for whatever reason, are unwilling or unable to wait just a little bit longer for a better option. Hence, pressured necessity. If you need the sale and your product is expiring, this is how you motivate action.
Like I said, you financial crisis, something happened, and that was the first person to cling on, or y'all had kids, and it was cheaper to keep her, that whole thing. Once again, just providing the information.
Now, next up is scenario E. These are women who are unable to secure and unwilling to settle, and they constitute a rapidly growing proportion of the population. As of right now, about 1 in 4 women will face this endgame. And
So hold on. So you got 1 in 4 who after 40 or stay unmarried. So maybe that's what he's talking about here. Let me continue. Let me not jump ahead.
I think it will soon become 1 in 3, making it the second most likely outcome.
The secret to our deodorant?
Yeah, boy. Hey, if I'm not getting paid, I don't want to see it. I'm finna show it to my viewers, man. Y'all cut me a check. Let's get past this, because now it's really finna get into the meat and potatoes of the whole basis of the video. majority of women. All right. All right. Let's get to it.
It's too harsh to say that these women end up alone. After all, there are people everywhere with whom you can have satisfying relationships, but they end up unpartnered and childless. In 2020, nearly 60% of women under 30 in the US were childless. And frankly, this doesn't seem to bother most women in this demographic. Many of them are thriving, making good money, traveling the world, prioritizing their friends and their interests, and receiving lots of offers.
I thought that was a very interesting stat. 60% of women under 30 are childless. That's actually not a bad scenario. We keep running around saying, hey, everybody got kids. That just shows you everybody don't got kids. Matter of fact, it seems like it might be more people within that age range, obviously, who don't have children. Hence the 60%.
However, as I can apparently never say enough, the game changes at 30. Just like a lot changes between the ages of 19 and 29, a lot changes between the ages of 29 and 39. Windows shorten, clocks wind down, and the fear of missing out rears its ugly head.
He didn't even say much there. I just need to stop it.
Failing to plan is planning to fail.
However, I do agree with that. I do agree with that. If you're just out here saying, I don't know, then you're going to get, I don't know. It may work out for you, but the percentage of that happening is much, much, much lower. So always have a plan in life.
According to a 2010 meta-analysis, only 10% of ultimately childless women actively chose not to become mothers. And about 10% of the remaining women could not become mothers due to medical reasons. That means about 80% of women who never have children arrived at this outcome unintentionally.
Look at that. See, so let's stop with all. At some point, we got to stop with the whole going back and forth about what you think. What you think don't matter. Numbers do. Statistics do. And regardless of you wanting to accept this information or not, that's your business. But it's not reality. And it's not factual. It's not even up for debate. There's no argument in this. It is what it is.
And this is not an even distribution across all women. The proportion of unintentionally childless women is significantly the highest among high-earning women with advanced degrees.
So these are the women. I don't even want to. Y'all know we all know what I'm referencing to. But to give credit where credit is due, this is why when you see women chasing a career, and rightfully so if that's what you want to do, and I've met plenty of these women, very attractive, successful, but in their 40s and single with no children. What's the deal here? And then still shooting for the moon as if they're not on this decline, even if they are still very attractive. Because one thing about it is, two things for sure. A woman is not going to be willing to give up her position of what she earned and has created in her life, and rightfully so. But as much as you want to take accountability for that reality, you also have to take accountability for the reality that a lot of men are probably not going to find you as suitable because of your age. And I just told you that a lot of men don't find value in other women's money because the scenario I gave earlier. Women will have all the success and money and still want you to be the traditional man. So they're not touching their money anyway. So what value of what you have done in your career is to me? That's the whole point. When I say men don't care about that, because you don't want to give it up anyways. Let's continue.
Namely, with the women who were performing so well in their 20s. Men are typically not as interested in making offers to these women, not, as is commonly believed, because they are intimidated by successful women. That is a cope for the women in question, but because these successful women are older.
and we'll sit here and talk about men like, oh, I'm just intimidated a lot of men because I got this going on. No, you do not. You don't. We don't care. Especially if a man got something, he don't care about what you got going on because you ain't willing to do this and that. No way. Don't worry about it. I can pay. I'm paying for all us. Oh, baby, I'm taking a trip on me. You ain't doing that like that. And the women who are, guess what? They in the other percentile where they like, all right, she willing to go in that bag and spend something. By the way, there are women out there obviously that's willing to do that. So
it takes time to get an advanced degree and build a career. And as we've seen, all other things being equal, the same offer becomes more expensive as a function of time. These women are also the least likely to surrender their hypergamous tendencies. After all, they've worked very hard to get to where they are.
Exactly. And I get it. It makes perfect sense. Why would I go to school for so many years to be a doctor or a lawyer or have spent countless hours developing my real estate brand or marketing consulting or whatever it is? I get it. But just, you can't, there's the yin and the yang, the pro and the cons. Everything ain't just this. Like when you do that, you're sacrificing something else. Nature of the game. Know the rules.
So why would or should they settle? It's an excellent question. However, the upshot here is that these women tend to price themselves out of the market more frequently than their less educated, lower earning, and younger competition.
Are you feeling stuck with $10,000?
Another ad. We're going to skip past this. Like I said, y'all don't give me no bread for us, or why should I help support you? Y'all will eventually, though. We're going to run these little videos up. But you got to start somewhere. Let's get past this. And yeah, I want to skip this ad, brother. All right. We're bringing them back. Let's continue.
And that leaves scenario C. Since these 5 endgames cover all the mutually exclusive outcomes, we can estimate that 53%, or roughly half of all women, will end up with lower value men willing to pay a higher price tag.
Meaning she's settling.
While a high-value man with lots of options may not be willing to offer, say, sexual exclusivity or a lifetime commitment, a lower-value man who might not be able to access the same sexual opportunity otherwise might.
Exactly. Let's continue. I'm gonna unpack this because we almost at the end.
These men...
By the way, shout out for all the people who have watched this rebroadcast, the live broadcast, stopped in just to show love. Like I said, I can't see the comments, but I appreciate everybody who's showing love and finding interest in this. I think it's going to be dope. So we're going to continue to push the narrative, but just want to give a shout out to y'all real quick, man.
And must offer more to compensate for their lower attractiveness. This means that most women end up with the relationship they want, but not with the man they would prefer.
Now that is a bar for me. A lot of women end up with the relationship that they want, but not with the man that they prefer. And this is why women cheat. This is why a lot of men deal with whatever a woman brings because he don't got no options like that. She's starting to realize what she really want ain't like that. So you get with this dude and you run all over him. He do whatever you want him to do. He's not that good looking. He's not XYZ. And women will sit there and say, no, but I'm happy because I have the relationship what I want, but not with the man that I would prefer. Now, fellas, the reason why I say that is this. That may be hard to chew on because you might start looking at your wife like, so you don't find me attractive? This ain't what you want? No. I mean, she'll deal with it. It's doable. It ain't like she's disgusted at you, but she tolerates that. It's okay to get the job done. I ain't mad at it, but it ain't necessarily what was on my Christmas list.
And this is what leads to a lot of low-grade marital dysfunction. As Chris Rock put it, the number one reason why your woman's always mad is because you ain't her first choice. Link below. Not all women can afford a Versace sack, but that typically doesn't stop them from wanting one. And this can make them envious and unhappy.
That's the other part that I said this before in some of my videos. Go watch some of the other live streams if you're new to the channel. But I've said this. Just because you're married, I heard a dude say, "Oh, my wife, I've been married for my wife for 13 years and she don't have sex with me in the last 4 months," or something ridiculous like that. What? You know why? Because you were not her first choice. She doesn't find you desirable. You're doable, which means she's settled. What she really wanted is the man that she gonna do any and everything for. So she gonna do that for him. But for you, she got the relationship because you this, you that, you show up, you're consistent, all that. But you're not that attractive to her. She deals with you out of convenience of having a good relationship. And she tells you that's more important than looks and everything. That's another lie that women tell you. Oh, looks ain't everything. I'd rather get with an unattractive man. And this is the reason why they would do that. It's because he provides a relationship. But really, Tone, who she really rock with, he ain't got to do half the junk you doing.
Especially if they're scrolling. On the other hand, some women can successfully resolve this dissonance by making a virtue out of a necessity, which, all things being equal, is actually a very useful reframe. That is, rather than focus on the sack they wanted but couldn't afford, they recast the knockoff they bought at a significant discount as just as good.
Right. That's why he said recast. This is like basically they tell themselves it's doable. Like, okay, it'll get the job done. They do the same thing, right? No.
After all, the knockoff sack can hold at least as much as the Versace sack, and it may even be the more practical accessory for most occasions.
There you go. It's doable. This'll work.
So what's the upshot?
I can bring this man around my family. He's going to be there. He's going to be supportive, emotionally available, financially supportive. He going to listen to my stories. He going to watch the rom-coms with me. We're going to go out on dates. You know, all this XYZ, whatever your list is. We travel together. We do this. He going to do all those things. Just not what you really want, ultimately.
At the end of the day, most women will end up with a perfectly serviceable option. So there's no need to give in to panic or dread.
Right. If it works, it works. Just realize that. Just realize that. Stop. Be real with yourself. And fellas, you don't need to be naive either. Because most of the time, these are low-value men who are just happy to be there anyways. So these type of men are probably not even seeking out my type of content. So no need to worry about nothing that I'm saying. Or really what he's saying.
So this is the approximate distribution of endgame likelihood when we look 20 moves ahead. And this distribution hinges on women's continued reticence to make the offer, whether it's for a date or for a lifetime of provision. The game will change significantly if and when they cross that threshold, but this is how it roughly looks under the current state of play. Just keep in mind that these are kind of ideal odds ratios. They skew more disadvantageously to the women as the years go by.
Disadvantageously, meaning the older you get, the further away these percentages start to really change for you. So be aware, be real, be honest. That's all you can do for yourself. I mean, I say that to say, if you're an attractive woman, you don't have no problem getting no man, but just don't use your better years to play with them. Take it serious.
For most women, they will never have a better chance of securing the relationship they want with the man they prefer than today.
With that, thank you, Orion, Dr. Orion Taraban. I really appreciate your services, and I appreciate y'all for tuning in. This was something new, man. This is something fun. And this is a way for me to give the information without just listening to it and then bringing it to you. Because I think a lot of people, the people who have watched the content or have never watched the content, I realized that, I need to put myself in a situation to garnish more attention. And the only way to do that is by actually sharing the knowledge that I'm finding myself that is I guess, conducive to the message that I'm trying to portray, which ultimately is helping men and women become a much better version of themselves in this dating space. And I'm going to continue. This is just one, but I'm going to break down what I mean by that going forward. But I had to jump on here. You say do rag and all. This is just raw. I'm going to be coming to y'all every day. And at least that's the plan. I'm coming to you as often as I can to try to bring you this information. And let's just pump it out, man. I got some really, I know I've done so much research and I try to talk from that space, but I find it much easier to just share the information with you and then we could break it down from there. So if y'all like this type of content, you like what we're doing right now, my camera don't want to stay focused and I'm a little blown out. I'm just realizing, but that's okay. But if you like this type of content, man, and y'all want to see more of this, which you will if you do or you don't, you're going to see more of this. Leave a comment, give me a like, give me a subscribe to the channel. It's going to really, really help. And hopefully that this information is going to help you as well and it help both of us grow in the long term. So with that being said, man, thank y'all for tuning in to another great episode of the Jahmad Show. As always, man, like, comment, share, subscribe. And also follow me on Instagram. You can also pick up merch. That's another way to support the show. If you go to thejahmadshow.com, once again, you see it in the top. Yep, thejahmadshow.com. I have merchandise on there. It's also where you see the podcast. You can find the podcast on there as well. Or you can go to PLP Apparel. You can also get to that link from the Jahmad Show, or you can go to plpapparel.net. And support the show, support the brand, support the cause. PLP stands for Promoting Love and Positivity. And that's what this is really, really about, man. It's about giving people information that you see is not just coming from a place of maybe you think I'm just this hurt guy out here or whatever. This is reality, and this is really for women. It's good for men to know this too, so you're not putting yourself in a situation with a woman who maybe doesn't appreciate you as much as you would want to be appreciated, or understand why you've dealt with the things that you've dealt with. I think it's important for us to continue to educate ourselves, Anyways, man, we did a little bit over an hour. I appreciate y'all. This is great. This is fun. I had fun. We're going to do it again. Tune in tomorrow around the same time. Just check and see if I'm live. And then eventually I'll start to develop a schedule. I think we'll just go live. I want to do this again. This was fun. Anyways, I like y'all. Thank y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. But until next time, love. Peace.